Music Player Network is here at NAMM 2022 with Tom O'Hanlon of Booker Lab. And Booker Lab is a company that makes a lot of cool devices, replacement amps for Leslie's, a lot of cool interfacing devices to sort of combine the old world of D3 organs, tone wheels, Leslie's, with the new world of clone wheels and more modern rotary speakers from Leslie and others. The first thing Tom's going to tell us about is this interface box called the Fusion, which lets you run multiple Leslies at once and has a few other cool tricks up its sleeve. Tom?
Absolutely. We chose the Fusion name because it brings together a whole bunch of different media, if you will. You can choose 11-pin input, you can have a 1/4-inch input, so that takes care of the new organs. The older organs would be through a,
Show it to us. Yeah.
We've got a 1/4-inch input for audio, and then we've got a speed switch input for a CU1 or a foot switch. But the main control would be through the 11-pin organ
11-pin world.
But if you plug one of these in, it overrides that, so it gives you some flexibility. And then we also provide 122 and 147 outputs, and we've got a universal power source that's acceptable, so it'll run all 3 Leslies at the same time. Sorry. On the front end, we give you volume, bass, and treble, and then this is a low cut just for rumble, high pass, and this is a gain control. Normally, you don't even need the high gain, but when you want to kick it, it'll do it. And then we have an effects loop that's really in series with the input, so we found people adding wah-wahs and reverb and some neat effects. So
cool. That's a cool thing.
So that's the Fusion preamp interface. And then the other product you mentioned, we call the vintage motor controller. So it gives you 4 sockets to plug your fast and slow motors in. And then we also provide an interface for a switch as well, or a foot switch. This terminal block lets you wire like an old 2-wire switch because they don't have the 1/4-inch jack.
Right.
And then one thing this does is Memphis mode with this switch. Enables it.
Frees your lower rotor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we've never seen anything that did that, and we researched whether you can do fast and on and stop, or just turn the rotor off completely. So we give you those options here. And then something that hadn't been taken advantage of yet, we also have a MIDI interface. And this MIDI interface lets you do speed control. It also lets you record the switch events. So as the organist is playing, you'll get a MIDI event that he just went from fast to slow, he just went from slow to stop, in time with the organ track. So the idea is that if you wanted to edit it later, or we jokingly say if the organ player doesn't come back from lunch, you can play the MIDI and we'll change the speed. So it sort of gives you an automated Leslie approach. I think what we've got to do is work with some of the studio software companies and get software, get the tabs integrated into like Pro Tools, and then that would let producers access it. But until we do that, it's just hardware. So, but it's a solution in search of a need maybe. But the MIDI is also cool because you can come off a keyboard with MIDI, and if you said the newer one doesn't have a switch, it's Wi-Fi. But you set like Nord C3 or Yamaha or something, and so it recognizes
set the type of keyboard you have, it'll recognize the message.
But we can do software setup now. The technology from that, I'm sorry.
How much does each one of these boxes cost to get into?
These are around $400 to $500. You can go over with options.
Yep.
Yeah. This one's I think around 2 something, but it again depends on options.
Yep.
An option I didn't mention too. These are AC monitors. This is crazy, but if you had 2 Leslies, you could plug the 2 cords are here into the first Leslie, control it, and then he would mimic that Leslie.
Oh, so you basically daisy chain one Leslie's speed control off another.
And so it's kind of interconnects, interfaces, and
real solutions for real gigging keyboard players.
Thank you.
I love this kind of thing.